Welcome to the DYNAMO Show. I am your host, James Erdt, the Chief Architect of WOW for a brand called DYNAMO Entrepreneur. We support experts and entrepreneurs in living well and doing good around the world, not only in their community, but also with themselves, getting selfish in health. We have a 5F-word system called food, fitness, family, finances, and fun. Today, we're going to take things into a little bit of a different realm, a more spiritual one. I actually have my next guest here, Jennifer Lyall. How are you, my friend?
Awesome, thank you.
Yes,
Thanks for having me here today.
I am so grateful for you coming because, I'm just evolving spiritually kind of myself. And I love how, I was looking at some of your stuff and you were talking about going from well-being and wellness to now this spiritual journey. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I'd love to get into the journey. How did you actually get here? Because, it's a huge journey coming from day one to where you are now to evolving, I guess.
I'm the baby of 7.
Okay, 7, wow.
7, yeah, the baby
That's
of
great.
7. And my parents worked full time. They had their own their own business. They worked from 7 in the morning to 11 at night.
Yeah.
And I was raised on a lot of processed foods, and that was kind of the way that I was raised too.
As many do, yeah.
Yes, and so I managed to get myself off to university, did the typical route of going through the corporate world, and then had kids. And there was this epiphany moment where
7 kids?
No, just 2, just
okay.
2.
Just making sure.
And after the first son, my first son, I remember having a moment where he was a year old. I was like, okay, I want to do a detox. I've been hearing about this wellness stuff and I want to do a detox.
Okay.
And I'm looking at all the food in my cupboard and it's like, oh my goodness, everything is processed. I can't eat any of it on this detox.
Oh, wow.
And then I had this thought, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for this family. I'm responsible for what they eat. I'm responsible for being Dr. Mom. And then something clicked, like I need to change the way I'm living.
Okay, okay.
So that opened things up for me in the wellness realm. I started to connect with other moms in the community. I created a group called Healthy Moms Connect.
Healthy Moms Connect, very
and
good.
That was back in 2007.
Okay.
So I wanted to connect with other women who had the same sort of approach and were curious about the same things.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that...
was that all within your community, like physical community?
Yes, that was
Locally,
all
okay.
local. So
it wasn't on the internet or anything?
No, because the internet was just
kind of evolving.
Yeah, just getting started then.
Yeah.
It was Facebook was there, but it wasn't as prominent. I think it was just getting started on Facebook at that point. And then from there, I wanted to reach a bigger audience because I was just growing passionate. Like, people need to know about this stuff. So I
love it. I feel it. I feel your passion.
You're so sweet.
Yeah.
I started my own business called Live Healthy.
Live Healthy.
And the intention was to inspire people to be proactive about their health. And with that, I had my own video podcast called Vitamin Junkies.
Vitamin Junkies.
Yes, I co-hosted and co-produced over 50 episodes with a naturopathic doctor in Toronto. So we talked about different wellness topics. And my dream, my vision was that I was going to have this part-time gig while the kids were in school. I'd get commercials, and I discovered that the wellness industry, it had some inauthentic people in it too.
Yeah.
And that really discouraged me. So
like every industry.
yeah, but I was dismayed. I was disheartened discovering that.
It's funny you say that because I say the same thing about the personal development industry.
Yeah.
You know, I went in guns blazing and just like, oh, this is great, everybody's awesome. And then it's like, oh, okay, they're business people and some are shady and some are not. And, you know, there's a lot of eye-opening.
Yeah, everyone's at a different point in their journey.
Yeah, they're all different journeys.
And my business wasn't going well. I wasn't confident because I didn't know that. I thought no one would want to listen to me because I didn't have any certification.
Not
of
enough
any sort.
junkies taking vitamins.
Exactly.
Why did you pick the word junkie, just out of curiosity? And I'll share with you why in a second, versus something like enthusiast.
We were brainstorming. My co-host, Dr. JJ, is a really fun guy. He loves laughter as medicine, and we just wanted people to be addicted to health.
It sticks too. It's got a stickability to it.
Yeah.
Like what's the one lady's name? Gabrielle Bernstein.
Yes.
She does the Spirit Junkies.
That's right.
Great title as well.
Yes.
Right on. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. No, because I was like, I always use that word, and I have people correct me. They're like, well, why do you use that word? Because it has a negative connotation to it. But vitamin is kind of an oxymoron, right? Because vitamins are good for you, right? So it's like, and junkie is necessarily not the greatest, positive word, right?
Well, if you're going to be addicted to something, at least be addicted to something that's healthy, right?
Of course,
There we go.
I love it. So then you evolved out of the Vitamin Junkies business.
Because I was so disheartened with the industry.
Yeah.
I wasn't making any money. I wasn't having fun anymore. And I knew there was something more waiting for me.
Okay.
So I remember the day, it was spring of 2010, and I'm sitting on the couch, it's just like, all right, universe. I didn't even know what universe was, but just this higher power that's out there. It's something.
Yeah.
There's something out there bigger than me. I give myself permission to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And then all these crazy synchronicities started to happen.
Quickly?
Over
momentarily, like right then?
Not right instantaneous, so that was spring, and then I started to open my eyes. It wasn't until June that I had the soul reading, and then from there it kind of spiraled and opened up this door to a spiritual wonderland.
Oh.
So I discovered crystals.
Another great word.
Yes. I discovered crystals and meditation and dowsing and automatic writing, channeling messages.
Very cool.
I discovered that I was a massage therapist for my family since I was 4. And
4, that's great.
Yes.
Very good.
But what I didn't realize is I was actually channeling energy at that time. My uncle's an energy healer, so it's been in my family for several generations.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it took me to this place of allowing myself to realize that there was more, and it was all within me. And I needed to go on that journey of self-discovery. And then there's the whole journey of, what are people going to think about all this woo-woo stuff?
Yeah.
What are they going to feel when they hear that that's what I do? And some people I can see step back because they don't get it, and like, ooh, like, what are you into? But with meditation being more mainstream now,
It is.
and people knowing more about Reiki even for energy, although my energy method is different, I believe it's all the same in the end, but it really is about greater awareness. I was on Delta flight a couple weeks ago, and in that magazine, there's an article about a spiritual store.
Crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, even like meditation, I don't remember exactly where I heard it, but they say that meditation is the next $1 trillion industry. Trillion.
Yes.
That's huge, right? So like that's bigger than Zumba.
I love it.
Right? So you're on the right track.
Yes. So now what I'm focusing on is the whole concept of energy.
Okay.
Not just energy, the energy facilitating and how you can clear it from your body, but getting down to more basic things that everyone can relate to.
Okay, that's
Personal
great.
energy management.
So making it relatable to the
masses.
the layman, we'll call it, the commoner that doesn't really understand awakening or universe yet.
Yet.
And that's important, that some spirit guides, are taking on that role to educate the masses,
So I'm sure you've gone into a room. Even coming into here, you can feel the vibe. There's a lot of positivity here, and it's awesome. Woo! Yeah. But you can also go into a room where there's been an argument. You can feel it.
Totally.
So we give off energy,
Yes.
and we take in energy.
Yes.
And when we are aware of when we're giving off and taking in energy, we need to keep our energy field strong so we're not taking on other people's stuff. When we're stressed out, when we're tired, when we're starving, when we're not taking care of ourselves, we take on other people's stuff.
That's true.
So I'm teaching people about a personal energy management system.
Okay, great.
It's really easy peasy. You check in, you can do it right now if you like. Just close your eyes and take a deep breath and ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel physically?
9.8.
Awesome. Now, how do I feel emotionally?
10.
Awesome. How do I feel mentally?
7.
Very good. And how do I feel spiritually?
11.
Awesome. I love it. So just doing that simple check-in, you start to get a sense of where you're at. So let's say if I rank less than a 7 for anything, I know I need to do something to bring my vibe up, to shift things so I can feel better in the world. Just imagine this being done by everyday people in corporations. Instead of taking on
awareness to it.
Yes. And think about the interactions around the boardroom tables. Think about the amazingness that they're going to do as they come together and collaborating. People are going to be bringing their A game to the table. And this is what I'm teaching people about how to manage their energy, an energy booster, so that they can shift back into alignment.
So how do they actually find you? Care to share? 30 seconds.
Sure. jlyall.com, JLYALL.com, and /energy if you'd like to learn more about this system.
I love it. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jennifer,
you.
for coming to the show.
Awesome.
Namaste.
Namaste.
We'll see you in some meditation class soon enough.
Yes.
I am James Erdt. This is the Dynamo Show. We are at episode 42, and we will be right back after this short commercial break. Welcome back to the Dynamo Show. I am your host, James Erdt, the Chief Architect of WOW for a brand called DYNAMO Entrepreneur. We are going to keep things going with a really exciting young lad, Zsolt Daranyi.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, my friend. It's an honor to have you here. You know, I've been following your career, and you're just skyrocketing, so good for you. However, before we get into talking a little bit about sports and what you're doing now, let's talk a little bit about the journey. Care to share?
Of course, yeah. You know, I went through a bit, you know, before turning pro, and even just the process of turning pro, it wasn't easy. You know, in the amateurs, there's things changing, and, you know, that's why I decided to turn pro. And, you know, the way things happened, it showed me that I need to turn pro. And it's the time, and everything just fell into place, and I felt I got a good deal, so I turned pro. And in between that time, you know, I was going through some tough times, you know, and this was about a little over 3 years ago.
Okay.
And, you know, it was difficult for me to go through, and I pushed myself. You know, I trained, I won my nationals like that in amateurs, and then I turned pro, and then I won.
You did amateur boxing for a long time before you went pro boxer?
Yes, yeah, for about 10 years.
When did you start boxing?
I was 9 years old.
9 years old. Was it in your family?
My dad a little bit, and even my mom's father, he boxed a little bit, so it wasn't a family.
Did you box back home? Like, when did you come to Canada from Hungary?
I was 5 years old.
Okay,
so,
okay.
I did with my dad, though. He used to, we used to play. He loved boxing. He always watched boxing.
Okay.
He used to go on his knees, and he let me beat him up, and I loved it.
A little bit.
I loved it.
Yeah, of course. So. Yeah, that's awesome. So, care to share a little bit about 3 years ago? What happened?
Yeah. So, about 3 years ago, you know, my son was, I didn't know he was my son at that time, and you know, my son's mother, she was pregnant at the time, and then afterwards he was born, and I still wasn't in his life, and at the age of 2 I started becoming in his life, and for me that was very hard to go through.
How did you find out?
You know, DNA test. We did a DNA test. And
Positive.
We found out, and we both had that feeling, and then at the age of 2, I pushed. I said, you know, I need to find out. You know, it was tough for me, you know.
I bet.
I had an amazing
I had the
father
same. I had my daughter when I was 21.
Wow.
Right? So she's 23 now. Yeah.
So I knew I need to be in his life. You know, it's a blessing for me, and you know, I could be a blessing for him. I want to be an amazing father for him. You know, so I was like, I couldn't just forget about him. 24/7. I just thought about him. And it was hard. And I pushed through training like that. I won all my fights like that. And
you know, so you used it as a motivation.
I did. And it was hard, but I did. You know?
What a gift.
Yeah. Blessing.
Yeah.
A blessing from God, you know, and I truly believe that. It's amazing.
Very good, very good, very good. And now do you play an active role in his life?
Yeah, huge. You know, I'm a full-time daddy and a full-time, you know, boxer, professional boxer.
Wild.
So, and that's not easy either.
Have you brought him to any of the fights, or do you kind of keep him out of that environment for now?
I brought him to the boxing gym a little bit, you know, in the beginning.
Just like when they're training and
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I realized, you know, I'd rather just keep him separate from that for a little bit. Once in a while, you know, if I bring him, it's okay. But I don't like to bring him often, right?
When would you start him? When would you think, you know, being a pro now and having gone through the ranks, what is the right age to get started in a fighting sport? Yeah,
it really depends on the kid, right? It really depends. I was a very active kid, and I'm the one who told my dad, I want to compete. I want to fight with the kids, right? So it really depends on the kid. I was 9 years old when I started, and I believe that was a perfect age for me to start.
And you went competitive fairly quickly?
Yeah, when I was 10 years old, I started competitive, and I loved it.
Right on, right on. It's in your blood.
Yeah, in my blood.
It, you know? Yeah, your dad must have been proud.
He was, you know, and when I kept winning. And you know what's funny? In the very beginning, he's like, when you win your fight, I'll give you money. And it was so funny because I kept on winning. I didn't lose. I kept on winning. So he's like, okay, you know what? Let's take it back. You know, you keep on winning. Let's slow down. I'm owing you too much money now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So who's gonna take it, Conor or Mayweather?
You know, that's a big talk everyone's talking about. You know, I'm interested to see that because I want to see everyone's reaction. Yeah. To be honest, I know Mayweather, no problem. You know, it's easy because it's a different game. If Mayweather was to go to the octagon,
opposite, but in the fight game, anything can happen.
Anything could happen. Right? You know, anything could happen.
Either way, they're both winning.
Exactly.
They're set for life now. Both of them. Smart.
It's smart.
Brilliant.
You know,
both of them are brilliant. You know, in that. So, what do you do for your own marketing? Like, how do you kind of get out there?
Yeah, so I fight. You know, I use, you know, obviously Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that. But right now it's a little bit difficult for me because in amateurs is okay, but you know, as pro now, all my professional fights are in America, so it's a little bit hard.
When you come to Toronto, we want to see you.
Soon this year, I believe that I'm gonna be fighting here, and you know, it's one of my goals. One of my goals is to sell out the Rogers Center.
Is that just because the pro ranks are just not as popular here? It's not as looked. It's a very different sport down there.
It is,
right?
and
especially the money involved and stuff.
There's more money there, and the boxing life there is a lot easier and it's bigger. And here there's
What do you mean by easier?
Rules.
Why would you say easier?
Because the rules, right? Like there's rules here where your opponent, you know, depends who your opponent is. They're really strict on that, and even your weight. You need to weigh in the day of, which is a lot of fighters hate doing that because they cut weight, right? So in America, it's a day before in most of the states. Yeah. And here in Toronto, it's the day of, which is a little bit dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
So that's a big factor.
Concussions happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dehydrations a lot.
Totally. Totally. What's your favorite part of the sport? Would you say?
You know.
Other than winning money.
Yeah. Everyone loves money, obviously. But even as a pro now, I do make some money, and obviously it is a little bit of push, you know, because I need to put food on the table for my family, right? And
what's your son's name?
Romello.
Romello, what a great name.
So very cool. You know, everything I do is for him now. He's my life, right? So
awesome.
I wanna be his hero. I want him to be like, that's my daddy, you know. He's a world champ. He's the best boxer there is.
You know? You are becoming a world champ. I see it. I feel it.
Yeah,
that's
me too.
Good,
you know,
you got it in you. You got that spark.
Yeah,
I love it. It's exciting to see, especially somebody your age, you know, to really know the direction and have that purpose that's pulling and pushing you, and now being empowered, you know, having that turbo boost of Romello, you know, kind of feeding the energy and driving. What would you be doing if you weren't a boxer?
Honestly, probably business. Probably business, and that's something that I'm gonna do, even besides
That's a pretty
boxing.
vague word, business. Like, let's narrow it down a bit. Like, what kind of business?
You know, anything. You know, anything when it comes to business, even when it comes to houses. That's something I want to do in the future. Real estate. You know, build houses. You know, renovate them, sell them. Renovate them, sell them.
So like flipping homes and stuff like that. Very cool.
And open up my gym. I'm definitely going to do that, and that's something that is going to be in my mind always. And I'm going to do it as soon as I can. I'm gonna get started on that. But yeah, who knows? Honestly, I think boxing saved my life, you know. Yeah. And I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for boxing. You know, my family was there, supportive, but you know, in areas that I grew up at times, it wasn't the best area. So I believe if it wasn't for boxing, I would have went the wrong way, and I would have went towards the money, you know, and started doing you know, bad things.
Illegalities.
Yeah, and
Like many of us do. I live that life,
Yeah,
man. I know.
yeah.
I gave up
So-
snowboarding, professional snowboarding career to go raving. To go party and getting
Wow.
involved with gangs and
Yeah,
stuff, and it
yeah.
ruined my entire career.
And
Yeah.
I believe at some point in my career, you know, at a young age,
Mm-hmm.
14 or 15, 16, I had that, you know, I had where I was starting to go towards the wrong way.
Yeah.
And, you know, I knew that I can't be doing this. I need to focus. I knew I wanted to be world champ. I knew I had goals. I can't be doing this. You know, I need to focus more on boxing. So that's why I left, you know,
Yeah.
that side of my life.
So
and
important,
I said,
especially at that age, to have
is.
something. You know, if
It
kids
is.
don't have that outlet to put positive energy into, they get bored. They get bored and they do other stuff, and they waver from the path. Right?
and they want to be cool too.
They
you
want to
know,
fit
that's what
in.
it
They want to
was,
belong.
yeah.
They want
Yeah.
respect, right?
Exactly.
So especially as boys, you know, growing
Oh,
up
yeah.
as a boy, you know, you get into fights, you know,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of testosterone. And trying to figure that out, girls, testosterone, fighting, school, and managing it all. So obviously, boxing has kept you on the straight and
Oh,
narrow
yeah.
for the most
Very.
part. So let's say if you were talking to some of the younger audience that's out there, you know, maybe share maybe 2 or 3 nuggets of wisdom, Zsolt wisdom, you know, in regards to staying on track.
Yeah, you know, whatever you go through in life at a young age, you're young, you know, maybe 13, 14, 15, even just your teens, you know, just push. You got to work hard. You have to, no matter what you're going through, no matter if you want to be cool, you can't focus on that. You got to want to be successful more than you want to be cool. And when you're older, that's when you're really going to be cool. And no matter what you go through, you got to work hard and you got to focus, you know, and not be sad about it and just be positive. It's very important to be positive and very important to believe in yourself. And if you believe, anything is possible.
I love it. Awesome, my friend. Zsolt Daranyi, this is the Dynamo Show. I agree with everything you said, except I think Connor's going to take it. This is episode 42. We will be right back after this short commercial break. Welcome back to the Dynamo Show. I am your host, James Erdt, the chief architect of WOW for a brand called DYNAMO Entrepreneur. We support experts, entrepreneurs in living well and doing good around the world, not only in their communities, but also remembering to put that oxygen mask back on themselves again. We have had some really great guests today, and we are going to continue things with Angela Cadieux.
Hi.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the show, my friend. I know we've just recently become friends. We went to an event together, and I have to commend you. You know, you were one of the stars of that day for me, and maybe we'll share a little bit about that later. But before we get into kind of, you know, what you're doing, let's talk a little bit about the journey, because I know you have a very, very powerful story. I know you have a story that can connect with a lot of women, possibly single moms out there, and I know the line of work you're going in is going to be supporting them directly. So why don't we get them into a place where they can understand and relate with you? Do you care to share a little bit about that story?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, wow, where to begin? So I am a single mom. I have 2 boys, 11 and 21,
What are their names?
Joshua and Jeremy.
Hi, Joshua and Jeremy.
So I grew up in a small town of Aurelia. I grew up with my mom. She was a single mom as well. I come from a family of 10 children,
10?
but I was raised an only child.
Okay, okay.
So
What number are you?
I'm the baby.
You're the baby, okay.
And I just turned 45 last Friday.
And the oldest is how old? Just to give us a range.
He's got to be close to 60. My mom's
Okay.
77.
Okay, okay.
So-
Yeah, yeah.
So
Aurelia.
Aurelia. So I was raised in Aurelia, raised by myself, by my mom.
Yep.
I had quite of a rough upbringing around like alcoholism and stuff like that. So I kind of grew up a little too fast than I should have. I think when everything changed for me is after I became a mom and realized that there's more to life than what I was living at the time. So Around 2006, okay, I'm just going to jump because I'm kind of scattered right now. Around 2006,
Take your time.
I found the book The Secret
Amazing
from
book.
Rhonda Byron.
Yeah. Did you see the movie?
I have.
Yeah,
I have the
fantastic work.
I have the audio, I have the video,
works,
I have
yeah.
everything. So that basically is where I changed my perspective of my future and my life.
That's amazing.
It really gave me the insight that I do have what it takes to be successful, to believe in myself. And it was having my children that I guess matured me so I could, because I want to give them a life that I never had.
Okay, that's awesome. Commendable.
Yeah. So here I am, finding my voice, and I'm ready to, I want to inspire other women. I want to inspire other single moms that to go inside and find that strength that we all have inside of us. Sometimes it's hard to find though, but once we do, the potential is unlimitless.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I know, like, even like books like, you know, take for example, or other authors like Wayne Dyer, Esther and Jerry Hicks, you know, all these wonderful spiritual empowerment books. Would you recommend them as a first step for, let's say, somebody that's kind of coming out of a lifestyle like that? Is that a really great catalyst to open up their mind, open up their heart to higher awareness and consciousness? Is that a good place to start? Because, you know, I'm not a woman and I'm not a single mom, so I wouldn't really know. You know, I have, you know, children myself. Have 4 children myself, and I had my daughter when I was really, really young. I was 21, but obviously, you know, a mother and her children has a very different, you know, connection, especially if you're a single mom. So is that a really great first step, or is it better to go right straight to as like a social worker, or is it better to self-educate, we'll call it?
Well, I think it depends on everybody's comfort level.
Yeah.
I found
Or situation.
Or situation.
Yeah.
I found that reading the books while I was working full time, it helped me to actually just get a little bit of a start on where I wanted to go. All of those people that you mentioned are on my mentor list.
Great.
I've read books from Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
You Were Born Rich.
Yeah.
I've read Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. Great work. Napoleon Hill.
I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to books.
Oh, I love it.
So reading is good, but if you have like...
Did you read before The Secret, or is it like, did it kind of spark this self-knowledge quest?
No, actually, the Stephen King was my
Okay, so
choice.
fiction stuff, yeah. Okay, right.
And then
on.
I went into the self-help.
Yeah. Do you still read Stephen King now?
No, not really.
Big in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Right on. So, I mean, when you were in Aurelia, you know, obviously, you know, you had a certain environment around you and different situations and different people, and they say we are the sum of our 5 closest relationships, you know, and now you're here, you know. Tell us a little bit about that transition, the shift.
Well, when they say it's all in who you hang out with, it's the truth.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. And
We're
we're hanging out together
That's
today
right.
here on the DYNAMO Show.
Because we rock. So yeah, I didn't choose a very good crowd of people when I was, you know, in my teenage years and stuff. We were kind of a little rebellish.
Okay.
But like I said, once I had my children, it kind of slowed me down and made me realize that there's much more to life than just a party, you know. And a lot of these mentors that I listen to, a lot of what they say sticks with me. You know, just because I was raised in a poor family doesn't mean I have to be poor. I want to be able to inspire women to be all that they can be, you know, so that they're giving back to their communities. And
you know what, I love how you just lit up right there. Like, just right when you said that, because you're empowering yourself. Just by leading with those thoughts and those, you know, emotions, you're becoming a magnet. Right,
Yeah.
just that the way you just lit up, you know, they're going to see that. Our audience as well, they're going to see that, you know, lighting up, you know, and now you're actually moving into the work end of it, right? So
Yeah.
let's start there. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, why kind of the shift towards social work.
well, that decision became into my reality when I decided to go back to school.
How long ago?
It was back in February of last year when I was attending a trauma recovery program.
Okay.
And that's when I decided to make the move to go back and get some more further education.
Congratulations.
I knew that helping people was my passion. I knew that I wanted to make an impression in some people and impact them profoundly so they could, you know, make the changes. I want to be the change that I want to see in the world.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Has it amounted to what you expected? You know, like it's different when it's kind of romantically, you know, this is kind of what I want to do, but then you get into the grind.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
you get into the homework,
Oh,
you get
yes.
into the reality of a lot of other situations, really, because they become part of your awareness.
Well, I can say that the field that I've chosen is the right one that I should be in, because every class that I would go to, I would get triggered.
Okay.
I was healing and learning at the same time.
Healing, learning, healing, learning, healing, learning.
Yes, every class. It was awesome. I love it. I'm only done my first year. I still have to go back in September to finish my second year. I've also placed myself on student council, so I'm the new
good for you.
VP external for the GCSAs.
Nice.
Because it's what I do anyway.
Yeah.
Is I help people. Like
You're diving right in.
if they need resources, if they're having trouble, if they need some, like even housing or financial or relationship, any kind of
Men and women?
men and women, mostly gravitate towards the women, but I've helped a few of my gentlemen friends in my life as well. My Facebook page is something that I'm very proud of. I've kept it very positive and inspirational, and I've helped people without even realizing that I've done so, which is such.
Do they share that with you?
Yes,
Yeah,
very
that's obviously how you know.
powerful.
I bet. So you have some good testimonials of people, you know,
Yeah.
lifting up, you know,
Yeah.
elevating their game because of something maybe you shared.
And it helps me too, because even if I'm having a bad day or stuff's went wrong, I can still put uplifting, inspirational stuff on my Facebook, which helps me as well.
What's the page called?
It's just my name, Angela Cadieux.
Very good, very good, very good. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually go to a short commercial break, but when we get back, I want to talk really about the business of social work and maybe how some others can get involved. Cool?
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. Stay tuned. I am James Erdt. This is the DYNAMO Show. We are on episode 42. We will be back right after this short commercial break. Welcome back to the DYNAMO Show. I am your host, James Erdt. We are going to keep things going with Angela Cadieux. So let's talk a little bit about skills, because, you know, in every vocation, every career choice, there's skills that are required. If you were to say, you know, what is the one most important skill that you would need to do the line of work you're in?
I would say genuineness and empathy.
Genuineness and empathy. Care to expand?
Well, empathy to me means to be able to relate to people, to listen with an open ear and an open heart. That's part of genuineness too, right?
Of course, yeah.
I consider myself as an empath.
I love it.
Yeah, those are really essential skills when it
They
comes
are,
to
they
this
are.
field.
Now, you know, that's something that obviously comes fairly naturally to you, you know, whether it's learned or having gone through something, you know, absorbed it, or it's, you know, inherently in you. What skills are you looking to develop to expand your career?
Okay, so that would be my newfound leadership skills.
Okay. Very cool. Care to expand on those leadership skills?
Okay, so while I was at the college and I was doing my thing that I usually do, I never realized that I had the leadership skills to be able to find something that I believe in and act upon it and attract others to either follow me or do the same. I never realized that was what they call leadership skills. So I've had it, but now I'm just working on it so I can expand on that more and become a true leader.
I love it, I love it. And you are, you know, I mean, even though we experienced that workshop together the other day by Armin Chaffee, you know, you stood up as the leader. You were actually one of the first people up to the front of the room, you know, sharing your story and empowering others. And, you know, you got a standing ovation. It was just absolutely beautiful. So I commend you on that. Now, when you're actually done school, what's the next step for you?
The next steps. So, Well, it's all like a work in progress. Everything can change at the blink of an eye. But what I would like to do is I would like to continue to follow my mentor. He has a book written, so I kind of wanted to go in that direction as well. I'd like to be able to at least start the book.
Yeah. Your own book?
My own book.
Oh, great. Do you have a title already?
No title yet,
No?
but
Concept?
it's just going to be my life.
Your life.
My life story, lessons learned.
The wisdom nuggets of life.
Exactly.
I love it. Right on. So you're going to become an author, maybe go on tour with the book, speaker.
Yeah, I do
know?
want to learn how to do public speaking.
Yeah.
And definitely go in that route.
I mean, social work is such a broad field. I mean,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so many different angles. If you were to say, you know, your target demographic or you know, your perfect client, you know, is another word for it, who would that be? Like, who would you love seeing yourself working with?
I would love to work with other single mothers.
And their children too?
And their children too.
Yeah. Would you get the children involved or just work with the mom?
Well, I think that getting the children involved is important too. My son and I have a regular routine every morning where we do a little drive before school, and we always talk about something to do with law of attraction, that's something that he could use in school when he's dealing with, you know, issues.
Does he get it?
Oh yeah, he does. He's so smart.
Yeah, he seems sharp. I met him before the show. You know, it's wild that we can impart that upon our children, especially, you know, there's a lot of people that haven't really discovered the law of attraction, or they think it's just a buzzword or a fad, you know, and it's not really as such. You know, even the movie The Secret, it's something that I was teaching about 5 years before The Secret came out by Rhonda Byrne, and you know, she now has the power and what's the other one? The Hero. Yeah. So really great stuff. She's really good at branding, by the way. Like, you know, from studying like the branding side of books, she's nailed it. Right? Really, really good work. You know, it's just really cool to see the evolution of this law of attraction into a huge genre of empowerment. And there's about 11 other spiritual laws, you know, and one that I really, really focus on myself is called the law of action. So when you have attraction, the word action is actually in attraction, but a lot of people forget that. They think just by thinking it, and even I think The Secret maybe missed a little bit about this point. You know, you got ask, believe, receive, right? But imagine putting ask, believe, act, receive into that mix, how much more empowering that is to really take people, you know, and hold their hand to guiding them to act upon this stuff that they're learning, and not just sit and thinking it's going to happen. You know, it may happen, but you might be a grandmother or a grandfather by that time, right? But when you act upon it, you know, it really happens fairly quickly, and we begin to manifest.
Yeah, sometimes it can happen so quickly it gets you scared.
Do you embrace that though, or do you repel it? Are you kind of like, oh my God, this is nuts?
Kind of half and half, because I'm just kind of
getting used to it,
getting out of my shell, getting out of my comfort zone.
Do you receive well? Are you open to receiving?
I am.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
I am now.
Good for you. Good for you. So let's say in 5 years from now, okay, 5 years, what is Angela doing? Perfect world. What's the perfect world look like?
I would like to do some traveling and do some motivational speaking.
Right on. Where are you going to travel to?
Workshops. Travel too. I'd like to do a lot of the workshops and stuff here in Canada.
Okay.
Maybe do some traveling to London, stuff like that.
I love it. Have you worked with any Indigenous communities?
Yeah.
Yeah. Care to share?
Yeah. So I found out recently that I do have Native heritage in my background. Our story comes from the Voyagers of Drummond Island.
Okay.
So for the past 10 years or so, I've been learning a lot about my Native culture. I started playing the woman's hand drum.
Oh.
And I'm actually going to start doing some teaching. Like I'm going to teach other women how to...
Like drumming circle?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
I'm really, really hyped about that.
I bet.
Because there again, I'm going to have my chance to make an impression on these women and show them where I was and where I am and where I'm going. So.
And music has this universal, you know, energetic, positive vibe about it that just lifts people up and it connects us together. You know, I love it. Are you familiar with David Miracle?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't think so.
He's an indigenous percussionist, and he's absolutely fantastic. I'll share a little bit more with you after the show. He's a dear friend of mine, and he actually sat in that seat.
Oh.
And so he's won like every award in Canada you can imagine, and just for his work, and the music is just next level. It's all percussion instruments from indigenous backgrounds.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'll introduce you to him.
Perfect.
Yeah, so he's actually going to be on my song. I got a new song coming out called Believe. And he actually plays the indigenous, percussions on the track, right?
Well, I
So-
got some pretty good vocals.
Oh yeah, right on. So you've done some singing in the past?
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Now, do you sing when you actually play your drum?
Yep.
Very cool, very
Yeah, I
cool.
sing in Ojibwe.
Oh, right on. Very cool, very cool. So now, let's say 5 years have come and gone, and now you're becoming the elder, and you've done really well in your life, and you got your book out, and everything's going really, really, really well. What would you want your son to be doing?
Anything he chooses.
Good answer. Good answer. Do you guide him in similar type of line of work or instruments? Does he play a musical instrument?
No, his instrument is his tablet.
His iPod, his iPad. Yeah, these kids are playing the video games. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So if you were to say maybe 2 or 3 nuggets on a final note to our audience, to some women that are out there that have gone through or are going through some things like you, where do they start?
Where to start? Start inside here. Look inside yourself. Find the strength that you need. It's all in there. All those answers that you're looking for, everything that you've ever needed to know is right inside of here. When you find that belief in yourself, anything is possible. I am proof of that, and I want to be able to show the world that as soon as you find that inner strength, you will shine, because I am reborn.
I am reborn. I love it. I love it. Well, I want to really thank you for coming on the show and sharing. I know some of these, things that we share is not overly easy to share, but when we get truly vulnerable and people see that we're sharing from an authentic place, from a genuine place, people get attracted to us and our story, and then we can lift them up and empower them as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming on the show. Angela
very much.
Cadieux, this is the DYNAMO Show. I am James Erdt. I'm honored to have you tune in, and we will see you on episode number 43.